Now, you talk a lot about healing with yourself, with your siblings. Have you gotten to a point where your level of forgiveness would even go towards the perpetrators of the ones responsible for killing your mom and your little brother?
Yeah. You know why? One thing I learned is that anger will consume you. Grief will consume you. Depression will consume you. Revenge will consume you, right? So I got to a place to where I was able to go back and look at the things that happened to me. And I thought that if I want to be forgiven for the things that I've done, I got to be willing to forgive others. So I began looking at the concept of forgiveness. It wasn't easy at first, but one of the things that I had to do before I could forgive anybody else, I had to forgive myself. Self-forgiveness. I had to forgive myself for the things that occurred to me that it wasn't my fault, right? I had to forgive myself for all the harms that I caused on so many other people. I had to forgive myself for that. So for me, forgiveness and self-forgiveness, like I had to forgive the people who committed the sexual harms on me, right? So once I got to that place to where I was able to process that, and I understand that hurt people, that things happen to other people, and they end up taking it out on others. So when I think about what happened to my mother and little brother, I'm here today in their honor, right? Living their life because they died for me. So because they died for me, I'm living for them. So ultimately, when we get right down to it, that's what I'm about. I'm about forgiveness, and I'm about self-forgiveness. And the only way that we can move forward as a community is we gotta be willing to forgive. We gotta be willing to like say, hey, look, this is what happened. Accountability. Yeah, I was involved in this, that, and the third. But you know what? I learned from those mistakes. I learned from those errant ways. And now I realize, man, I was a teenager and I was involved in a whole lot of foolishness that decimate my community. You know, I was like the Tasmanian devil on the community. So again, right? Because I was such a Tasmanian devil on the community, now I want to be a healer for the community. And this is my choice. This is nobody other choice. Because I definitely have a dog in this fight. You know, so I think it's important, you know, as I make my way through the world, you know, as I find my niche. You know, it's important to be able to like those principles of restorative justice. Those are my guiding light. Those would allow me to focus on accountability. You know, list the things I've done, right? The things that happened to me. That's accountability, right? You know, I mean, there are things that I can address with my rivals, right? That didn't result in murder, right? That didn't result in murder, but resulted in other forms of violence, right? That I can admit to, you know. But I think that it's important to be able to talk about these things and be able to allow ourselves to heal from them, to say the least.
While you were talking to Chris's mom, you had asked her, did you see 3 people? And she said, yeah. So you must have been hearing bits and pieces of what happened and who was involved. Do you feel like you have a complete understanding of what happened to your mom and your son and who was involved today?
Let me say this. I wasn't there, so I don't know who was involved. But their names, people tell me names. But you know what? None of that even really matters to me at this point. You know what I mean? Because ultimately, my mother and little brother, they're not coming back. ultimately, Stanford Bursey, he not coming back. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still here, right? And I want to heal my community. So for me, it's not even about the names. It's not even about that anymore, you know? I mean, at one point it was. That was the height of my existence, to get back. But you know, only thing I can go is what a person say. If a person tell me that they didn't do it, then hey, I got to take them as they were. And even if they tell me that they did do it, it's not about, for me, it ain't about getting back, because it ain't no coming back from it, right? And I can tell you this, I definitely ain't going back to no prison cell. I'm definitely no, I was buried. This is what let me know that it's not worth it. So by me being on the other side of that violence, and I'm telling you, man, it's, and the thing is, it's not the violence in prison that make it fucked up. The violence is the things that you are subjected to in that environment. And the things that you are objected to, it's like, it's crazy. And I want to say the dynamic of the prison system has changed so much. It's like, wow, I cannot contemplate what it would be like to start doing a term now, as opposed to when I did it way back in 1985.